Hey plant peeps, welcome back to El Pilar. Thanks for checking in. I'm Travis, and today I want to just give a quick video response to a comment that was made by Stephen Van Kampen Lewis on his channel over the weekend. And he did a video dispelling like a few orchid myths. And one of the ones that he talked about was water culture for orchids. And I agree. I want to say right in the beginning, I agree with pretty much everything that Stephen said in his video, and he certainly has a lot more orchid growing experience than we do. He's been growing for like 30 years, and we've only been growing orchids seriously for like 5 years, so certainly he's got us there. His depth of knowledge is a lot more than ours, not just his practical experience. And so, in no way am I trying to like argue or say he's wrong and we're right. Like, no. I just want to share our experiences with kind of a water culture method that we found to work fairly well. I'll kind of take a few of the things that Stephen said in his video specifically. Like, he did say that they're kind of in a science experiment, and I agree. Certainly that's how we kind of mentally approach this idea about growing our Phalaenopsis pretty much in water culture. So I should also say that we only grow Phalaenopsis orchids pretty much in water culture. We don't have a whole lot, with the exception of a Barcaria. I'll show the Barcaria as well. But anyways, the first one, that we kind of do grow, and it's been in water culture now for about 8 months, and it's reblooming this spring. Nice bloom. I will say, that there are more flowers than the last time it bloomed. I mean, not the first time when we bought it, but certainly it's bounced back a little bit since we've put it into this jar. So we grow it in just like a 3/4 liter beer glass kind of thing. It's got a nice carry handle, so it's convenient to carry to the sink. But anyways, this is a nice no ID. It's fragrant. Not coming on super strong yet, but it has a very strong fragrance. It's quite pleasant. We've been told this can maybe be like a bronze Buddha. Bulgari is another trade name that it's sold as in Europe, I guess. So anyways, a nice orchid, and you can see, try to get, hopefully the camera will focus on that root growth in there. Like, it's got some nice new growing roots this spring. This is all new root growth this spring that you see. It started growing its new roots in maybe February or so. And a couple months back, I pulled it out and trimmed off a bunch of the old dead roots because in this method, the older roots do seem to kind of rot faster than they do in a media culture. Now, you can see this plant is dry, right? So specifically for us, how do we water them? Well, first of all, I guess you can't really call this a water culture because we do not let the plants sit in water all the time. Most of the time, in fact, they're empty like this and basically drying out. They soak for anywhere from 24, sometimes I get lazy and I'll leave them for like 48 hours, 2 mornings, and then I'll drain them. But usually I try to fill them up one morning before work, and then I'll drain it the next morning before work. I'll drain all of them. So let them sit for like 24 hours, and I do that in the summertime. Now it's like getting peak summer. We've had a few hot days. I'll do that 2 times a week. Try to do it twice a week in summer. Soak them for 24 hours. In the winter time, I'll do it maybe once a week. Sometimes let them go every 2 weeks. A few of these, just experimenting, I let go for longer between waterings, even 3 weeks in some cases. And they did fine. Like, we were gone for like almost 3 weeks at Christmas. All of the water culture phals dried out for that 3 weeks. And yeah, they were totally fine. Now, yeah, we did lose a couple of the little sad weaklings. So we've culled a lot of ours here recently, and yeah, anything that's underperforming, we just don't have the room, and I don't want to waste water and time on them anymore. So we've culled a few of the seedlings here over the last month. But a few other examples now of water culture orchids. So like I said, pretty much all of the plants we grow in water culture are Phalaenopsis. And so this is a Schilleriana. This is Phal Schilleriana. This planted a few years ago. It really declined. And so now, I guess going on maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, we put it into water culture. And man, it's really done so much better since then. So I gotta say, this is kind of one of those things where I'm like, there's something to it, and if you can find the right plant and the right, conditions, I think you can pull it off. I will agree with Stephen again that I don't think it is the best method. So let me just say that right now. I think, growing your phals either mounted if you have the conditions and the ability to keep up with the watering, or if you plant them in media. I think that is definitely the way to maximize your plant's growth. And I'll say for us, we usually, with like a couple exceptions, this one because it's just adapted so well to water culture, and the bronze Buddha I just showed you, we'll probably keep that in water culture for the foreseeable future until things start to go south. But generally, we use this growing method as a stopgap measure. So like if we get a plant with weak roots and we need it to recover, then usually, and certainly if I don't have the media that I need right now, we'll put them into water culture, and it does a really good job, this method I found, of keeping the roots alive. So, it's just a way to kind of prolong the repotting of a plant. And this spring we also repotted out. We took out of water cultures several seedlings, 5 or 6 different seedlings that are now getting kind of like their mature leaves and starting to hit their next next growth phase. So we removed those ones, and what we've also found is that the roots that were existing in the water culture do a pretty good job of transitioning to a new media. It seems like it's a nice intermediary step between, like, if you're going from moss, for instance, to, say, bark or some other, organic media, then, it seems like this does a good job of kind of transitioning the roots. If you grow them like this for a couple months and just get them, I don't know, it's like they go through a few dry, wet cycles, and it seems like it, I don't know, hardens them up. It's totally an opinion. Of course, I have no scientific data to back any of this up. It's all just kind of my own observations of what plants have done well. And there is a seed capsule on this Schilleriana. We have no plans of doing anything. This is actually a throwback hybrid called Weganii. So it's a cross between a Schilleriana and our Stewartiana. And we made that cross just as kind of a test. And so kind of another testament, to this kind of water culture method is that, yeah, this seed capsule, it seems good. I mean, it's about ready. You can tell it's starting to yellow up and starting to change color just in the last couple days. So this one's ready to cut off. And we aren't going to do anything with this because it's a throwback hybrid, and it was more of a test to see about maturation times for this plant and if it was possible to get seed with the plant in water culture. And yeah, it is growing a seed capsule, so that's great. It's growing now. This new leaf kind of came out in like late winter, or maybe in the fall it started growing this leaf, and now as you can see it's getting a new leaf again. So really happy with how the Schilleriana has responded. Really quick as a comparison, so these are some plants that we deflasked just in the fall. And this is Violacea Mintaui, is this plant here, Violacea Mintaui. And this is also from the same flask. Now, I just kind of wanted to show you these two. We have 2 little plantlets here. We grow these 2 in our kind of modified water culture method, just flooding it. We do it the same frequency as all of the big ones even. So just, again, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks in winter, and then once to twice a week in summer during hot weather and growing season. We, that's how we water this one. This guy we took out and put into our typical bark and leca media, and we water it every week, you know, and again, in the wintertime, we'll water these every couple of weeks. So we do basically the same watering frequency, more or less. Maybe these we water a little bit more because they're completely drying out between waterings, except any residual moisture, right? So why do I think this method is good? Well, I think it kind of mimics more being, it's almost like they're kind of mounted in a little, you know, crack or something in a crevice in a tree. And yeah, a little bit of water and drops of water will accumulate down there. But when I empty it and then through the week, they kind of, you know, vaporize and it gets humid and the roots stay green. Like you can see, we just emptied these yesterday. And these roots are still nice and green and everything is looking good and healthy. And it's got new root growth for the spring. So these probably should have been repotted maybe a couple weeks back when the new roots started growing, and then the older roots, even down inside, started growing new growing root tips. That would have been the time to take these out and transition them into media. But we didn't, so we'll leave them in here. We'll just keep letting them grow, but you can see the growth rate is quite slow on the water culture plants, right? And on these guys in the media, they've just taken off. So that's one downside, right? The growth is not optimized, right? I'll repeat that. I do believe that. This will be maybe the last one that we show. Well, okay, maybe a couple more. This is the Barcaria. So this is an exception to our Phalaenopsis water culture. This one we do not let soak, right? So this one I water a lot more frequently. And I just fill the glass more or less up. I run water all over the new growing roots. These roots that you can see, the fresh, healthy green ones, these are all from this spring growth on this Barcaria since it came out of dormancy. These get a dry period in kind of the late winter. Now, I'm not sure if I started watering it too early with the growing root tips. I don't know if they're like catasetums where it's like you should let the roots grow before you water them. I don't know. But I just started watering it and I just like let the water go over the roots and then I immediately dump any water out. Again, kind of just the residual water moisture down in the bottom of the glass will kind of keep this plant super humidified in this little jar, right? This little glass. So in that method, it seems to have come out of dormancy. Nice new growth this year. We really are new to the Barcarias. This is still our first year with them. So learning how to bring them out of dormancy has been a bit of a trick, but this has done a lot better than our little mounted Barcarias. This method has actually done a lot better. This little plant is going crazy. So happy so far with this method and the Barcarias. This is Hans Christensen. So Silogeny Hans Christensen. Now this was one rhizome. We just snipped and cut the rhizome in half and sent the other half off to INSA at INSA Orchids and ADD. And again, we didn't really know what to do. I was kind of like torn on what to do with this plant. When I snipped it, it only had this one largest growth started that you can see there, and it did have all of these roots that came out of the media. It was in like green cube, crushed green cube. And basically this one we kind of do let sit in water. Actually, okay, so we let that cut end callus off like a cactus. We let it sit for like 3 or 4 days and dry out and let that calloused end cut. Or we let the cut end form a dry little scab, and then shoved it into this glass, and now we just basically let it sit in water for days on end, and we only let it dry out for like maybe a day, and then we'll fill it back up again and let it sit for another 3 days or so. And I'll show you close-ups. Now, I'm super happy with what this has done for this plant. It's been responding almost like a kind of a Hoya or some of these, cuttings that you can take and grow in a glass of water and then they just root out. That's not exactly true, but the root growth on this in the last few days, it's just kind of exploded. I know it's going to be hard to see. I don't know if the camera will focus, but all along here you can see these tiny little green growing root tips coming out from all over the existing root base. So that's awesome. And then we noticed just now, last week here, we've had little sprouting nubbins. So finally it's like coming out of its kind of dormancy. Even right next to the cut, there's a brand new growth starting there. I mean, I can't say I can attribute that all to water culture, but you know, again, what I love about this method is like when you don't really know what else to do for a plant, you can kind of throw it in here, tinker with the watering a little bit and its schedule, and keep the plants alive, and in some cases even help them to kind of generate. This is my opinion, but I think you can't argue. Like, I mean, I'm really happy with these results. Like, they're doing really good. Now, I will say one final comment on fertilizing, and what we have noticed is we have to pay a lot more attention and kind of be more diligent about fertilizing these plants in water culture. Probably people who grow on mounts and stuff have found that also to be true. I don't know. I can't say that because we don't grow on mounts. But it's just something like my thought and hypothesis is that like plants in media, like the media will retain some of that fertilizer solution for a few days, maybe even like there will be some left over the next week if it's a stronger solution. But these, they can only absorb what they get when they're in fertilizer, and nothing hangs around, right? So they really respond well when we keep up on fertilizing. Right? Like much more so. I'm a lot lazier about watering or fertilizing most of our orchids that are in regular media, but these you really gotta fertilize it. That's just kind of what I've seen. I don't know, again, like this is only my opinion. So, thanks to Stephen Van Kampen Lewis for his amazing content, and we love watching your videos, Stephen. If you are watching this, thanks for kind of inspiring me to get some thoughts down. And we haven't really looked at our water culture phalaenopsis here in a while and done an update of them, so here you go. Yeah, there's a few more still in the windowsill, but they're little seedlings. I'm not gonna show them. Thanks for checking in, guys. Hope you're having a good one. Stick together and stay focused. We will see you guys back here at LPLR soon.